Hello and welcome to my Mount Farming Guide series. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the continent of the Eastern Kingdoms and a path that will take you through all the dungeons, raids, and world bosses that have the potential to drop a mount for you. We're going to start by heading to our faction capital in BFA. This guide is optimized for level 120 characters, so if you are lower than this, you may have to take some different routes to get to these places that we're going to be visiting. And if you're higher than this, there may be a more optimal path to take. But we're going to be starting in our BFA capital cities, and we're going to take the portal to our regular capital cities. So if you're on the Alliance side, you're going to be headed to Stormwind, and if you're on the Horde side, you're going to head to Orgrimmar. Once you've made it to your capital city, you're going to stay in the portal room here, and you're going to look for a mage. One of the mages that are going to be inside the portal room is going to have the option to take you out to the dark portal. So we're going to take this option, and this is going to teleport us out to the Blasted Lands. Now from here, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to mount up, and we're going to fly directly west over to Stranglethorn Vale, and our target is going to be the Zul'Gurub dungeon. The Zul'Gurub dungeon has a chance to drop 2 different mounts on heroic difficulty. You can run this dungeon once per day in an attempt to get these mounts. The first mount is the armored Rosati Raptor. It drops off Bloodlord Mandokir, who is the second boss in the dungeon. And the second mount that you can get is the Swift Azulian Panther. This drops off High Priestess Kilnara. She's the 6th boss in the dungeon. Once you're done with the Zul'Gurub dungeon, you're going to want to head slightly northeast to Deadwind Pass, where we're going to be hitting up the Caravan Dungeon and the Caravan Raid. The first thing we're going to do here is the Caravan Raid. This raid has a chance to drop a mount from a boss called Attunement the Huntsman. He's pretty much the first boss that you're going to encounter when you go in, and you don't need to worry about the rest of the raid for any chance to get a mount. The mount that he drops is the Fiery Warhorse, which you can see here. So you're going to knock that out first before you go on to the Return to Karazhan dungeon. Next up, we're going to move over to the dungeon, and in case you don't know where it is, you're just going to pop up and you're going to head right over here to the east side of the building where you see this little portal, and the dungeon is going to be here. This is the Return to Karazhan dungeon from Legion. The Return to Karazhan dungeon has a chance to drop 2 different mounts. The first one is Midnight, and we're actually going to get this one from the same boss that we fought in the raid version of Karazhan, Attunement the Huntsman. He's the 5th boss in this time, so you got to get a little bit further to get to him, but he has a chance to drop the Midnight mount, which is basically a pumped up version of the Fiery Warhorse. Now, the second mount that we're able to get is the Smoldering Ember Worm. Now, there's a couple of things going on with this mount. One, the boss that you need to fight in order to get this mount is actually a secret boss, and you have to do several different things to summon him. Now, I'm not going to cover all those here, but I'll leave a link in the description below to the Wowhead guide that goes through all the steps that you need to do in order to summon him. And the way that this works is that there is a 20% chance per person in your party for this mount to drop. So if you do have a full party of 5 people and they haven't already run this dungeon, there's a 100% chance that this mount will drop and one of you will get it. And then if you were to say run it again with the same people and someone was already, had already run this, then it goes down to an 80% drop and so on and so forth. As long as someone is running the dungeon fresh, they add 20% to the chance for this mount to drop. So if you're running this solo, you do still have a 20% chance for the mount to drop if you complete all the conditions necessary to summon the boss and manage to kill him, which is way higher than the percent chance for mounts to drop in general. But do note, if you can get a 5-man team together, then you're guaranteed that someone gets the drop. And you could do that, 5 weeks in a row, and everyone can get them out. Next, we're going to be headed way north on the Eastern Kingdoms to the Eastern Plaguelands. Now, there are a few ways that you can get here. If you have the portal that will take you to the Arathi Highlands Warfront, whether you're Horde or your Alliance, you can take that portal and then head north and slightly east to the Eastern Plaguelands, where we're headed to the Stratholme dungeon. If you're on the Horde side and you don't have access to this portal, you can head to the Undercity and then fly slightly northeast from there as well to get to the Eastern Plaguelands. You could also teleport to Silvermoon and head south. There's a lot of options if you are a Horde player. If you're an Alliance player, the most likely way that you're going to want to get there is to either use the Arathi Highlands route, or you can go back to your faction capital, to your Cataclysm portals, and teleport to the Twilight Highlands. On the Alliance side, your Cataclysm portals are located in Stormwind on this little island here. If you're on the Horde side and you're trying to get to Undercity, if you are pre a certain Battle for Azeroth event, you can head to the Zeppelin in Orgrimmar, or post that event, you can also head to where the Zeppelin used to be and take the portal to get there. One final thing to note is if you do happen to have a mage friend on the Alliance or Horde side, you can get them to use a portal to take you to Ancient Dalaran, and that's going to put you in the Hillsbrad foothills right here at the Dalaran crater, and you can also head over to the Eastern Plaguelands for there. So you do have several options depending on what's available to you. There isn't a super easy way to get to the Eastern Plaguelands, but these are some of the routes that you could potentially take. Once you've made it to the Eastern Plaguelands, you're going to want to head not to the direct Stratholme entrance, but you're going to want to go a little southeast over to the East Wall Gate. This is an alternate entrance to the Stratholme dungeon, and you're going to take this and you want to get to the final boss. The final boss is Lord Arius Rivendare, and he has a chance to drop Rivendare's Charger, which is a undead skeletal horse mount. This mount does drop in the regular version of the dungeon, so you can farm this as much as you want. Obviously, the only limitation you have is the hourly dungeon lockout. Once you're done in Stratholme, we're going to head right over here to the gate to the Ghostlands. The Ghostlands is considered instance content, so you can't just fly into the Ghostlands. You do have to go through the gate. Once we're here, we're going to head over to the Zul'Gurub dungeon on the southeastern side of the map. Alternatively, if you were doing this on the Horde side and you wanted to teleport into Silvermoon, head down to Zul'Gurub and then do Stratholme, you could do that as well. Either way works. Once you get to Zul'Gurub, what we're actually doing here is grabbing an achievement called Barely Made It. You have to save all prisoners within the instance before they are sacrificed to Zul'Gurub on heroic difficulty. So this is really, really trivial to do if you are at max level. You just need to follow the boss order, make sure you save all the prisoners, and then the boss will drop a bag. The mount is contained within the bag, so make sure that you loot and you're not just looking for a mount. You have to get the bag, open the bag, and the mount will be inside of it. The mount that drops is the Amani Battle Bear. It's pretty sweet. It's been around for a while. It does have a nice new updated model, and to be a little more specific, the drop is Kasha's bag. So that's what you're looking for the mount within it. Like I said, really easy. You do this one time and then you knock this off the list because you're guaranteed to get this drop. For our final mount in this run, we're going to be heading back to our normal faction capitals, and we're going to head over to our Cataclysm portals. Remember, for Alliance, that's the little island here in Stormwind, and for the Horde, there's a little section here in the Valley of Wisdom where those portals are located. Once here, you're going to be taking the portal to Deepholm. Once you arrive in Deepholm, we're wanting to get to the Stonecore dungeon, and to do that, you're going to want to head outside of the tower from either direction, depending on where you came in from, on which faction. It may be left, it may be right. Either way, just get outside the tower, and then what you're going to want to do is circle around to the west side of the tower. Once you've circled around to the west side of the tower here, you're just going to fly straight up. And you're looking for these green pillars, and the entrance to the dungeon is going to be straight ahead. All right, the mount that you can get in the Stonecore is the Vitreous Stone Drake. This mount will drop on normal or heroic, so it is farmable. You can do the daily heroic, and then you can farm the normal mode for this. It drops from Slabhide, who is the second boss in the dungeon. And that's it for the dungeons, raids, and world bosses in the Eastern Kingdom that have the potential to drop a mount for you. Now note, you can go from here and head over to the Arathi Highlands and farm the rares there. A lot of them drop mounts and pets and toys, but as those are not world bosses, dungeons, or raids, I'm not going to cover those in this video. Also, some of you may be wondering about the Isle of Keldanis, where there are some mounts that you can get. The Isle of Keldanis is actually easier to get to from Outland, so I'm going to be covering that in the Outland mount farming video. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please remember to like, comment, subscribe, and ring the bell if you want notifications about future videos like this. If you'd like to support the channel on Patreon, you can head to patreon.com/Setsuko, where I have a variety of tiers and rewards, including exclusive streams that I do only for my patrons. Thanks for watching. I hope you're having fun in whatever it is that you're doing, and as always, I'll see you on the next video.